Yo, what's going on YouTube? It's your boy LexThomas21 back here for another movie review with you guys. I'm going to start reviewing random horror movies. I'll probably go within franchise as well. I'm going to do my first horror review. It's October. I feel like reviewing some horror movies. I just got done watching Scream. So let's go ahead and get into this. I'm really feeling in the holiday spirit. It's October. Let's get into these Halloween movies. I'm going to be probably trying to get as many Halloween reviews as I can. I'm going to start with Scream 1, probably do Scream 2, Scream 3. I don't know about reviewing Scream 4. Have my thoughts on Scream 4. And we'll get into that probably later. But let's go ahead and review the very first Scream movie, directed by Wes Craven, starring Neve Campbell, David Arquette, Courtney Cox, Drew Barrymore, Matthew Lillard. Let's go ahead and get into this. Starting with the plot. The movie stars Neve Campbell. Her name is Sidney Prescott, and she just went through a terrible tragedy with her mom being murdered. And then within a year later, some more murders start happening in her small town of Woodsboro. I think that's what the town is called, if I'm not mistaken. It's all involving around her and her group of friends, and I just love the dynamic of that. And how the realism of it, because you really don't know who the killer is. I'm going to go into some spoilers in this video as well, so you guys don't get flipped off. I'm going into some spoilers as well. If you guys haven't seen Scream, I don't know if you guys been living under a rock. I don't know. But I've seen it probably like over 100 times. I know the lines and everything. So I'm going to get into some spoilers. It was leading up to that, obviously show that Billy is the killer. And if you haven't seen this movie, if you see it, you obviously know Billy is the killer. Billy is the killer. The way he looks, the way he talks, the way he just knows about the horror genre. He's obviously the killer. But there's the Jamie Kennedy's character, Randy, who knows a lot about the horror trope and horror genre, who knows, like, that's what I'm saying. This movie does a lot of things where it shows we don't know who the killer is. Obviously, the killer's wearing a ghost face mask, and we don't really see who he is towards the beginning. But I love the emphasis of showing we don't know who the killer is in this movie. Kind of like when Friday the 13th did it, where we didn't know who the killer was. We saw everything from the background. Even obviously, we see this killer, but we don't know who it is. I just love the essence of this film, where it showed that this is basically a nod to other horror films that it came before. I love the nods where they talked about Nightmare on Elm Street, they talked about Halloween, they talk about Friday the 13th, they talk about all the horror films that came before, and I love that they kind of nod and kind of wink at the camera, knowing that we know these things. We know that we can't say "I'll be right back." We know that we can't have sex. We can't do drugs. You can't do these things, but obviously they're gonna do it, and it's gonna fire back on them. I love that we know that they're telling the audience that they know exactly what there are, and they're gonna show you what you know. They're gonna show you exactly what's gonna happen. I love that part of the film. Obviously directed by Wes Craven. He knows a lot about the horror genre. He's made some other films that reinvented the horror genre as well. Obviously, Nightmare on Elm Street. He did Hills Have Eyes, did Last House on the Left. He did a lot of horror films that kind of reinvented the horror film and created some iconic characters. And starting with this, he kind of did the exact same thing for the 21st century. He kind of reinvented the horror genre again. Because a lot of films do that. They do the actual, like, you know, they kind of nod to the horror films. They know exactly what there are. And let's go ahead and get into the characters. I love all the characters are nicely cast. Neve Campbell leads the hell out of this film. To me, this is probably her best role. I haven't seen her in any other roles, but to me, this probably is her best role. This is her most known role. David Arquette does a pretty good job as a Deputy Dewey. Courtney Cox do a pretty good job as an irritating news reporter. And all the friends that you know, Billy, Randy, Stu, Tatum, all of them do a pretty good job as being side characters to Sidney. And the Billy Loomis character is a really creepy guy. There's a scene where he's in the police station. He's like looking at her, just looking at her. And like his face, like you can tell that something is wrong with this guy. Something is obviously wrong with this guy. And like, I noticed just a little nod, like every time he was talking, he blinked like twice. Like he always blinked when he talked. And it kind of made a sense, like, he's not telling the truth. There's something off with this guy. And obviously there is something off with him. Let's go ahead and get into the major sequences of the movie. I love the opening of this movie. The opening of this movie is probably the best scene throughout the whole franchise. Just the setup though, where you know, he answers the phone, says, "What's your favorite scary movie?" To you know, the chase in the house, to going outside, to the first stab, to they're hanging on the tree. That whole sequence is brilliantly done to set us up for exactly what we're in for, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Now let's go ahead and get into the end sequence at the house. It's just it feel like it was a long night. If you watch it, it feel like it's a long day. Because technically this movie only takes place within like 2 days. And it just feels really long. Because there's a point in time when they're at school. Then there's the curfew. Then they set up to go for the party. And then it just seemed like it's a lot there. A lot of setup to that main sequence. And I absolutely love it. I love the scene there where Jamie Kennedy is literally watching Halloween and he's telling Jamie, he's like, Jamie, look behind you, and the Ghostface killer is literally behind him about to try to stab him. I love things like that. That's like another nod to to the camera, like, yeah, we know exactly what we're doing. Wes Craven did an amazing job directing this, and also I've got to give a credit to the writer Kevin Williamson. I watched the inside story on the whole thing, is that he was going through a lot of things to try to get this. He didn't know exactly what he wanted to do, and it took him really hard time. He watched a news story that got him the idea of this movie, and it kind of worked. I love the script for this movie. I love the nod to the horror films. I love that it feels like it was around that time. I'm gonna go into get into some bad things. Some of the acting is a little down a little bit. There's a point in time in the middle of the film, it feels like it's dragging to the end. But we also do get some middle sequence, some good sequence. We have a scene with the principal. He gets killed within that time. But it's like, it just kind of lingers a little bit till we get to the big climax. But that's probably my only gripes of the movie. I really do absolutely love this film. I just watched it and I'm just sitting there like, man, these kids, man, just wow. If I had to rate this movie, I'd probably give it a 7.5 out of 10. Like I said, it's the film that kind of reinvented the horror film and also brought it back to prominence. Because at this point in time, the horror genre was kind of dead. It was trash. It was not, it was done. So we needed another horror franchise to kind of bring us back up, and this what did it. So I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. Please slap the like button. Please subscribe for more. Let me know if you enjoyed Scream and what's your favorite horror movie in the comment section below. And I'm out on this one, you guys. Peace.